It's made by the same people as some other software I've reviewed before, such as Fox Pro and AirPlay. So let's just take a look at the interface first. Here you have a standard type of interface that you'd expect from a media player, similar to QuickTime Player, or at least QuickTime X or 10 Player. And you have your standard bar here. Now this button here I'll go into a bit later on. This button here brings up a playlist, and you can put various music and video files in a list, and it will play one after the other instead of having to manually open each one, just like playlists in most programs really. Any downloads, I'll go back to that. Rewind, fast forward, play, pause, volume, progress bar, your full screen, minimize and close buttons as you'd expect from most programs. Let's have a look at the menus. Okay, you can see that it is the latest version at the time I'm making this, which is Pro version 6.1. As I mentioned, there is a non-Pro free version as well. And I'll go into what the difference is a little bit later. You can change your license type, such as from a personal license to a family pack, upgrade, recover lost license key, look at the Pro version features, check for updates, and integrate into browser, block any pop-up windows, preferences. Let's look at preferences. Okay, pretty standard. When you download something, do you want to put it into the downloads folder or not? You know, do you want to put it maybe in its own folder? Do you want to put it in the video folder? Whatever. You can then autoplay files added to playlists. You can add downloaded files to playlists automatically. You can automatically add files to playlist upon opening. Various playback options here, such as disable screensaver while you're in full screen mode. Optional, you can send anonymous usage statistics to the company, and there's quite a lot of people that don't like that sort of thing, so you can just untick it here and not do that. I have no problem with doing that, so I tend to leave it ticked, and it is ticked by default. But if you don't like that, you can turn it off here. There's also automatically check for updates when you have the program open or not, and if you have it unticked, if you want to check for an update, you'll have to do it manually here. Flash files or SWF files, when you download those sort of files, do you want it to be high, medium, or low quality? Do you want to enable flash local security? Do you want to allow send receive data over network? Some options here for playlists. Some options for capturing, such as taking a screenshot. In the Pro version, you can take screenshots of your desktop or whatever. You can then select where to put it here. You can have it as a TIFF, which I believe is the default, a GIF, or a PNG. I tend to use PNGs or JPEGs. There's no JPEG option here for whatever reason, so I'll use PNG. Screenshot intervals and capture options here. And under video, we can enable force index rebuilding when you open normally AVIs. Deinterlace method, we have FFmpeg, LPF5, and blend, or you can have none. I actually am not really expert on this sort of thing. I don't really know the difference, so I just tend to have it on FFmpeg. That may not be the best one, or in some cases may be better off having it on none, but it's a bit beyond this review. We have image enhancement. You can have none again, normal, fast, or advanced, so I just tend to have it on normal. Performance, we can use a cache of local files. We can use hardware acceleration, and I like to use hardware acceleration. Not all media players have that, especially if they're free, although some others do. So it's nice to have that option, especially when, like I say, if you normally use a free program, they won't necessarily have that. So it's good to have. And I recommend, if it's not ticked by default for whatever reason, you do turn that on. I've certainly had no problems with it in this program or any other. Action upon double clicking. So if you double click the window, even if there's a video player, do you want it to enter and exit full screen? Do you want it to pause and play the video? Which is, I think, probably how most media players work. If you click on the screen, it will pause it, or no action at all. I like to have it on enter and exit, which is default, because I'll show you later, but basically when you're in full screen in most programs on Mac, if it's using the native OS X full screen, when you hover up here, the menu bar will come down with the close and minimize grayed out, and then the full screen button, and then a lot of people click that. This doesn't do that. So you either have to hit escape on your keyboard or double click. And if you have this turned to play, pause, or none, the only way you get out of full screen is by hitting escape on your keyboard. So it's handy, at least at the moment, the way this program works with its full screen mode, it's handy to have it on enter and exit. Full screen monitor, don't change, or screen one. I've only got one screen. If you had multiple screens, you could select them from here. And interface, do you want a resize interface to the original video size, and show the OSD and what color. We then have a tab for audio. We can select audio device here, such as built-in output, or if we have something like a pair of headphones plugged in, we could select it from here. And number of playback channels, do we want it stereo, or if we have a surround system rigged up, do we want 5.1 or 7.1, etc. Automatically load external tracks. So if it's external audio files with the video file and it's not built into the video file for whatever reason, we have some options to deal with that there. Preferred audio language, pass-through for hardware decoders. This is something you probably won't normally need, but if you do, you have options for AC3 there or DTS. Virtual surround emulation. Do you want to enable it for 5 to 6 channel audio or just for stereo? So if you're wearing a pair of headphones, you might want to enable it for stereo, and that might fake surround sound on a regular pair of stereo headphones. But I would probably not use that if you're using your built-in speakers. I'd use it if you're using a pair of headphones or earphones. We then have some options for subtitles. If you use subtitles or occasionally, we can auto load the subtitles here, and we can say all subs containing movie name, or same name as movie, or all subs in directory. We can select the preferred language of subtitles here, which is separate for the audio and the subtitles. Select first available subtitle. Encoding, normally you'd have UTF-8, but there's other encoding options there. You can select a font from here, change the font size, color and border color, or turn off a border. You might actually prefer to have that on. It might make it a bit more visible. Apply these settings for ASS files and changes that require restart of playback. So let's close that. Next, we have a pretty standard file menu here. Do you want to open a file? Do you want to open a video TS file, which is from a DVD? Or do you want to open up online video? And you put in the URL here, and it does support things like not just YouTube, but also Vimeo or Dailymotion, and you can add it to a playlist or not with the checkbox. We then have Open Recent, which you get in most programs. We can save and load a playlist from there. We can clear the playlist. We can close the window. Regular edit menu here. View. If I had a video open, which I don't at the moment, we'd have various sizing options for the window. We'd have aspect ratio. Do you want to, if it's 4:3, do you want to try to stretch it to say 16:9 or whatever? Do you want to mirror, flip it? Do you want to rotate it? Fit the window. Do you want to enter full screen? There we go. Now, while I'm here, let me just point out what I meant about full screen. See, when you hover up here, this is what you get. Now, in other programs, you'd have your close button grayed out here when you hover, and a full screen button. There's no button. So if you're used to doing it that way, you can't. You have to hit exit on your keyboard, or if you have it set in preferences, double click the window, though it won't do it because the video isn't loaded. But if a video was loaded, you could double click on the window to enter and exit full screen as well. I would prefer it if it had a native OS X full screen mode. It would be certainly handier for people who are used to clicking this when they're in full screen to exit full screen. We then have float on top. We then have show playlist in a separate window, auto hide controls or not, show controls or not. Then we have movie, play, stop, loop, next, previous, repeat, shuffle, volume up and down and mute, and various other options. And if we had a video loaded here, We could also take a screenshot or even record a series of screenshots, which is an interesting option because a lot of programs, including free programs, media players, do have a take screenshot option, which allows you to take a still screenshot. But most that I've seen, I don't think normally have a record series of screenshots, so that could be handy. Then we have window, and we can look at the equalizer. We can turn it on if we want. We can set it manually and adjust our controls. We can create a preset, edit the list. We can select from a preset here. And if you've used things like iTunes, the equalizer in that, it should be fairly straightforward. We then have video tuner, so we can adjust brightness, contrast, saturation, gamma, hue, noise reduction, and sharpness of the image. We then have media info, which has nothing at the moment because I haven't got a video loaded. Okay, I now have a video loaded. You can see its progress bar and that up here. It's an AVI, so if we go to window, media info, we can see that the file size is 245.1 megabytes. Its duration is about 27 minutes. Its video only has one track, which is an MP4V. It's a DivX, and you can see its bitrate there and resolution and frames per second. We see how many streams are in the audio, how many audio streams are there, and as you can see, this only has one, which is an MPEG 3 using FFmpeg float. Its bitrate there, and how many channels it's got, which is 2 channels. It's stereo, it's not surround, and it's not mono. Then we can see the source, so where is it? It's in my downloads folder. I'll put it in there. It's an AVI, and that's about it. And that's about it for this, except we can have a look at a browser. Now, we can also get to that from down.